Blog Talk Radio.
Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here today. You are in for a treat. Today we're going to be chatting with Dr. Roger Leslie, who has so many books out, you guys, and they're in all different kinds of genres. So whatever it is that you're interested in, he probably has a book for you. We're going to be chatting today about No Stranger Christmas. I can't wait. So if you haven't read his books yet, let me read his bio so you can get to know him. Dr. Roger Leslie is a scholar in the fields of success and education through major literary houses, medium and small presses, and his own publishing house. Leslie has published fiction, nonfiction, and books in many genres: historical fiction, inspirational self-help, spirituality, writing and publishing, movie references, teaching, librarianship, biography, history, and memoir. You guys, see, I told you there's a book for everyone. Leslie has won numerous national awards, including the Forward Book Award of the Year, the Ben Franklin Award, Writer's Digest #1 Inspirational Book of the Year, and at its inaugural event, Leslie received the Houston Literary Award for his body of work. He's an in-demand teacher, coach, and keynote speaker, and he's also a sought-after speaker for his lively, entertaining keynotes relating to award-winning movies. And in every book presentation, he entertains, inspires, and empowers people to live the life they dream and soar toward their own ideal of success. For more information about him, I did include, I am so sorry, you guys, about the dog. Rascal, enough. All right, this is live radio. So I put a link to Roger's website right there on the Blog Talk site. So if you're listening live or if you're listening later, definitely click that link and check out all he has to offer. He has a great website with lots of information. So without any further delay, are you there, Roger?
I'm here. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, it's so great to have you on. And I'm very intrigued by No Stranger Christmas because it looks like a holiday book, but it just came out in June, right?
That's right. And that's because one of the main themes is LGBTQ+, the audience is for YA. And so in honor of Pride Month in June, my publicist and I, we talked about it, and we thought, well, let's start by publishing the book in June and get the promotion out for Pride Month and kind of let LGBTQ+ youth know about it. And then once the reviews continue to come in, then we're going to have a second launch around the holidays so that we'll be promoting the book again from Thanksgiving till Christmas.
Oh, I love that. So do you want to tell everybody kind of what inspired this book? Because it's a subject that's like close to your heart, right?
It is. You know, like most people, I love whatever holiday is connected to family traditions. Mine just happens to be Christmas. And so every year I decorate the house for Christmas, and I have a special nook in my living room where I display classic Christmas books. So I've got, Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and I've got the Best Christmas Pageant Ever and A Charlie Brown Christmas, and just a lot of the great classics. And I was looking at the display 2 Christmases ago, and I thought, I would really like to contribute to the body of work on holiday books that are out there. And that was my only inspiration. And without any idea further than that, I just thought I'm just going to sit down and start writing. And the result, a year and a half later, was No Stranger Christmas.
So what can you tell everybody about it? Why should they go out and grab a copy?
I love the title No Stranger Christmas because it's a pun in that the main family that's experiencing their Christmas troubles that year are the central character is the teenage son in the novel, and he finds this Christmas stranger than any other they've ever had because the family is having some financial setbacks and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to celebrate as they always have, and things seem to be really rough in the family. So he keeps thinking, wow, this is so strange. I don't think I've ever seen a stranger Christmas. but it's also about connecting with people worldwide and finding other people, even of other faiths. And it just so happens that while this main character is working on a production for the live nativity for his church, he ends up meeting someone who is not a Christian. He's from another part of the world, and there's a sense that there are no strangers among us at any holiday, including Christmas.
I love that. And because it's LGBTQ fiction, does our teen son fall in love? Does he find a boy that steals his heart?
That's part of the suspense of the novel. We'll just have to see about that.
Okay, no spoilers. But we do all love those Netflix Christmas movies.
Absolutely.
I love that. Will this turn into a series, or is it just a standalone?
At this point, this is a standalone. I am working on another novel series about 5 sisters. I've been working on this series. Actually, I started it in 2010. So I've been working on this. This has been my massive magnus opus at this point in my career. So I'm in the revision process. I have the first draft of all 4 novels written, but I'm in the revision process of the second novel. But of course, if I'm working on one novel, what happens in one novel impacts what happened in the novel before it and what happens in the subsequent novels. So No Stranger Christmas is probably going to be a standalone novel,
okay.
But my next big effort will be getting these 4 novels out. Then that will be sometime in the future. I have other nonfiction books on the way, but somewhere down the road, this 4-novel series will be coming out also.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, I wanted to ask you, because you've written historical fiction and YA and biography and memoir, and do you have other genres? I mean, is this the 4 sisters going to be women's fiction? I mean, do you have other genres that you have dreams of writing in, a big sci-fi book or something?
You know, whatever inspires me and whatever challenges me, I'm excited to do. That's why I have so many books in so many different genres. In truth, my last 2 books, my memoir, Light Come Out of the Closet, and my novel, No Stranger Christmas, have LGBTQ plus themes, but none of my other books has that same theme. It just happened to be that that's the direction that I went in with. So, yes, with the next novel series, no, that is a women's historical fiction.
Wow, look at you. Okay. And does this have this multiple genre attraction? Does that have anything to do with, weren't you involved in library systems or something? Are you just a really widely read person, and so you're inspired to write all these different genres?
I started out as a literature teacher, a high school English teacher. I did that just to supplement my income while I was writing, because I've been writing since I was 13 years old. So as an English teacher, I got to immerse myself in classic literature, which I loved, and I taught both juniors, which is American Lit, and seniors, which is British Lit. So I was just in heaven, wow, being able to be immersed in all of that. Turns out that when the librarian at my campus retired, principal offered me the job as librarian, and so it just seemed a good fit at the time, and I accepted the position. So I was a librarian for many years until I retired from education. So that's part of what prompted my writing in so many genres. You know, if you know anything about the Dewey Decimal System, you know there are like about 14 different categories. Well, one day I was working in the library, and I thought, you know what? I want to write a book that ends up, a different book, one that ends up in each of the different sections of the library. And I did achieve that goal a few years back. So if you want to go to hundreds, in the Dewey system, or in the reference section, or in the fiction section, or in the biography section, I don't know of any library that has me in every different section, but that became a goal. I'm very goal-oriented. When I was a teacher, I taught goal setting. Some of my books are about goal setting. So that was just a goal that hit me. I just thought, you know what? I want to have a book in every single section of the Dewey system. And there it is.
I love that. I don't think I have talked to so many writers on this show, and I don't think I've ever heard that goal. I think that's amazing.
Well, it's interesting, Lisa, because I had an agent at one time, and she was sending some of my manuscripts around New York to some of the big publishing houses, and she met with me finally, and she said, Roger, I don't know how to market you. You do too many different things.
Right.
And at first, I was a little taken aback. I was disappointed, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, no matter what our goals are, no matter what our aspirations are, in some way we want to stand out from other people in our industry, in our passion, in our hobby. Whatever your listeners love to do, they want to stand out in some way. And I realized that my vast breadth of experience made me unique among other writers. And that's what inspired me then to move from being a teacher to a writing coach, and then a professional editor, and now a publisher of other people's books, because I have experience in so many different genres, in so many different levels, that I can respond as an editor, not only from an editor's point of view, but also from a writer's point of view, because it's likely I have written and published in that particular genre as well.
I love it. Well, I was going to ask you, too, about I have been working on my first nonfiction Reading Tarot Intuitively book it comes out in January from my publisher, but it was I have written 48 fiction novels, and it was a big shift in my brain trying to write nonfiction. And then when that project was done, shifting back into fiction has been a little wobbly too. How do you juggle that between writing nonfiction and fiction? Because it is, for anyone listening, it is a strange dichotomy, because when you're writing fiction, you're sort of God, and you're doing this, and then when you're writing nonfiction, you want to be entertaining, but you're talking about a certain subject. So how do you navigate that?
The nice thing about nonfiction, which surprised me, because for many years I only wrote fiction, even though I wasn't getting it published. When I was in my 20s and early 30s, I was writing fiction. I was even writing screenplays, and I wasn't having much publishing success. And then I ended up getting the opportunity to write a nonfiction book, and I thought, I'm really not attracted to writing nonfiction because I didn't think it would require the same level of creativity. I was so wrong. I loved how, even though you are immersed in facts and you're sharing information and you're wanting to give readers depth and breadth to the subject that you're covering, it really does take creative energy to make it fascinating and entertaining and meaningful. And so once I started writing nonfiction, I also found out that it's much easier to get nonfiction published traditionally than it is to get fiction published. So I started by writing fiction, didn't have much success with the publishing, did a lot of nonfiction, and all of a sudden, wow, I was getting book after book after book published, and then my novels started coming out as well, and things developed. So it's a matter of, when I talk about right brain and left brain, your right brain is very free-flowing. It's the creative side of you. Left brain, the left side of your brain thinks in concrete sequential sequences. And so if aspiring writers out there are thinking, well, I want to write a novel, but I want to outline it very thoroughly, you're probably more left brain than right brain. I would recommend just doing a cursory outline, then setting it aside, and then just write that first draft. It will be like being a little kid in a Montessori classroom. All these toys and manipulatives are everywhere, and you can play with anything you want. And in that first draft, just go for it. And then in the revision stage, that's when you can organize things. And this is for fiction or nonfiction. Either one is true. You can organize it. With the revision process, you write over and over again until you get it just right for readers. My two general rules that I offer my clients is, in the first draft, don't get it right, get it written. Because
good advice.
Most people who write books and don't get it finished because they start editing too soon. They've got that editor over their shoulder nitpicking about everything. My second rule is rewriting is also real writing. I used to think, if I'm just rewriting something, that doesn't really count. I really got to be creating something new every time I sit down in my office. I don't feel that way anymore because I realize I need to be engaged and creative in the revision process just as I am in the first draft process. It's just a little bit different. I don't go quite as deep into my subconscious because I'm trying to coordinate things so that it has meaning for the reader, not just to me.
That is a good point. And you kind of mentioned with your nonfiction and your screenplays, but you have written some incredible looking movie books, and I'm wondering how much do movies inspire you for your books, for your writing? You seem to be a big, you have all the Oscar movies and you're very tapped in. So, do those influence you or inspire you for your books?
Absolutely. In fact, my decision to become a writer was inspired when I was a teenager. I was 13 years old. I went to go see the movie Murder on the Orient Express. The first time I saw it, this is the 1974 version. So I went to see it with my dad and brother, and the first time I watched it, I thought, wow, this is such a great movie. It's clever, it's unique, it had just a dynamic ending, and I thought, I just really am impressed by this. Well, as we were leaving, my dad said, your grandmother loves Agatha Christie. You should come back and see this with her. On my second viewing of that movie, my thoughts went from, I love this, to I want to do something similar with my life. I want to write things that inspire people, make them laugh, make them intrigued, to make them, suspend and fill them with suspense. And that's what prompted my desire to be a writer in the first place. So, yes, movies are a huge influence on me. I love to analyze movies for writing purposes as much as I do the books I read.
That's so cool. And are there certain holiday movies that you think maybe inspired No Stranger Christmas? What are your favorite go-tos for holiday movies?
So with holiday movies, I've always loved It's a Wonderful Life, like most people in this country. And I used to show it to my students every year because I think it's such an inspiring way to view the world and view how the universe works. So, of course, I love It's a Wonderful Life. I love Love Actually. And, it's intriguing to see how our personalities reflect our choice in movies, because I watched a special once about Christmas movies, and there were several critics who did not like Love Actually because they thought it was too sentimental, it was a little bit saccharine, it was over the top, and that was not my experience of it ever. I love that movie. I'm touched by it every time. The scene where Emma is in the bedroom by herself when she discovers something very sad in her life.
Right.
I'm so moved by that scene every single time. And so I realized that, not everyone's taste will be the same. And so if I lean toward being more sentimental and emotional, I'm good with that.
Yeah, my husband runs a Christmas online radio station, and he's so into Christmas all year long. And those two are definitely a couple of his go-to also. And I feel like movies like Love Actually, I thought that movie did a great job of weaving all of those stories together. I've never written a book myself where the stories weave together, but that always resides in the back of my mind, how, each story, they all kind of came together at the end around holidays with the little kids' Christmas play dressed as lobsters and the kid at the airport. And, it all kind of wove together. And I thought that was magical. And I think it's okay to get a little sappy at the holidays, because really everybody, when your family gets together, it is kind of sappy because you can't help but, go over everybody's favorite memories and stories that they've heard 50 times and remembering they're at the table with you and all that kind of thing. I think that, getting a little sappy at the holidays is kind of what the holidays are for, right?
Exactly. And I love that you mentioned that about remembering people who are no longer at the table. every time another relative of mine passes, I feel just a deep spiritual connection to them. And my relationship with them doesn't end just because their time on earth has ended. I still like to communicate with them. And, during meditation, I might think about them or consider some of the lessons they taught me in life and see, well, how can I use that to be a better person now? And very often the people who have gone before, I feel closer to at Christmas than I do when they were still here, living in another state where I would only talk to them on the phone every few weeks, or we would just text each other. There's something about it's like, okay, now we're they're just somewhere in the universe, somewhere in the ether, and I can draw them to wherever I want and have the experience that I know of them to be and who they help me become, which is to me is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And you think about like A Christmas Carol with the ghosts, of Christmas past, present, and future, and all that kind of thing. I think that the idea of that your spirit doesn't die and that you're around, and people see cardinals or they get signs or whatever, and it always seems like holiday stories are, a perfect backdrop for that kind of thing, because that's when we get nostalgic and we think of them. And when you think of them, boy, boom, they're right there.
Yes, exactly. And I really think that the signs are all about our interpretation of what happens. Two people can look at the exact same thing, and for one person it can be very meaningful. The other person may be oblivious to it, and that's fine. But the idea is we get to pick what our symbols mean to us. We get to determine through our belief system, through our faith, perhaps through our understanding of how the world works. We get to decide what's sad and what's beautiful, what's kind and what's loving. Being able to decide that for ourselves and then act on that, I think is such a beautiful gift from the universe in general.
I totally agree. And when you think about it, once you understand what your sign is, then when it happens, it's even more special. Like my mom passed, and she was not a big music lover, and I am, but her music taste was very narrow, and Gordon Lightfoot and Kris Kristofferson and Marty Robbins. That was pretty much the only albums that she had. And every once in a while, Gordon Lightfoot gets played on the radio. I'm like, what? Hi, Mom. And I know that wouldn't mean it for anyone else, but for me, I'm like, wow, hello.
That's beautiful. I love that, because those are the symbols that bring her to your heart and mind. So, and the fact that you're willing to see that and engage, I think, is a beautiful thing. And if there is some kind of message coming from beyond, I think that's the only way to receive it, is to be open to it.
Right. You have to be willing to see that it's there.
Yes. And whether that message really is coming from the beyond, or whether it's just something within us that we're working through, and our memory of our parents and the connection to the song is the liaison between those two concepts. To me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it gets there. What matters is that I'm learning the lesson, and I'm growing and feeling spiritually stronger and more expansive in my approach to how I can help other people in the world.
Right. And I love that way of stating it, is so true. And you've written spiritual books too, haven't you?
I have, yes. Divine Destiny is one of them. My first last year is my bestseller in the nonfiction genre, and that was about a year that I spent living as if I would never experience those calendar dates again. I actually had a dream that came to me that told me to live my next 365 days as if I would never experience those calendar dates again. It didn't necessarily say I was going to die a year from then, but I was told, put everything I have and want in this life into that year and write about it and teach other people how to do the same. And that became what I call my first last year.
Wow. That's amazing. And I would think that would be hugely life-changing. Did it change your life, living each day like you'll never see that day again?
It did. It did two things primarily. One, as I mentioned earlier, I'm very goal-oriented, so it enabled me to achieve some major goals that still were left unfulfilled. But secondly, it taught me how to be more present moment by moment. Because I kept thinking, okay, like my dad is still living. I'm very fortunate, and I see him regularly. But back when I was living my first last year, my parents were both living, and I would see my dad once a month for dinner. We would get together other times too, but we always just had a father-son dinner once a month. And I remember every time we got together, my thought was always, well, what if this is the last time I ever have this opportunity to see my dad? How am I going to show up? How am I going to pay attention? How am I going to be more present? So rather than just thinking, oh, this is just one of many times I get to see my dad, I really changed my mindset. And I just thought, what if this is it? And I do that with my books too. It's just like, I'm in the course of writing several different books right now, but I always think, what happens if this is it? What happens if this is the last book I ever get to write? What do I want to put in it? What message do I want to have? And what experience do I want to have while writing it? So that if I ever have to look back on my life and think, well, that was where my writing ended for whatever reason, how did I enjoy it? How present was I? How grateful was I? How aware was I of all the good? And what a blessing and gift it is that I have this opportunity to write and share these messages with the world. Changed everything.
Oh, I bet. Dang, I'm inspired just thinking about it. I love that. So what is next for you? What's your next book release after No Stranger Christmas?
In May, on National Teachers Day, my book, Being Mr. Leslie, will be coming out, and it is a tribute to some of the students who taught me everything I needed to learn to be a teacher and most of what I needed to learn to be a man. So it's a tribute to 52 students that I taught way back in the 80s and early 90s who changed my life. So it's a tribute to them. It is somewhat memoirish because it is about my experience with them, but each different section is about a different student and the specific lesson they taught me about teaching and about life. So that's called Being Mr. Leslie, and that will be coming out early May.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. Do your students know?
Actually, I connected with all the students that I was able to connect with, and I sent them the essay that I wrote about them and asked them for their approval. And we're going to be having a huge launch here in the Houston area, and I'm hoping most of those students can attend. I have several students who now live all over the country and in other parts of the world, because I taught 35 years ago. So, I'm hoping that they'll be there, but the whole thing is a tribute to them and a letter to them thanking them for the impact that they made on my life.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Are they going to help you with the launch?
Yes, I'm hoping. Yeah, I do have some students already working on it, and so some will be part of it. Others, I hope, will just be able to attend. But we're doing a big fundraiser for the school where I taught, and we're creating a scholarship. And the proceeds from the event, a lot of the silent auction items and everything, will go toward a scholarship for a current student, so that we can keep giving back and paying forward.
Oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic. Is it up for pre-order now? Can people go pre-order it?
Not yet. It's still in production.
Okay. Well, everyone, if you grab No Stranger Christmas, there we go, I can speak. If you grab No Stranger Christmas, you can follow him on Amazon, and they'll alert you when the other book goes up for pre-order. So definitely check it out. And before we run out of time, if readers get excited about your books, how can they get in touch with you? I put a link to your website, but are you on social media?
I am on social media. Yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but really through my website is the best way. And if they want to subscribe to my email, I send out a monthly inspirational email to keep them inspired and empowered to live the life they dream.
Oh, my gosh, love it. So everyone go check out RogerLeslie.com, and there is a link on Blog Talk. And thank you so much for being here. It was great chatting with you, Roger.
Thank you, Lisa. You're wonderful.
Okay. See you later.
Thanks for joining us on Booklights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.